What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another special episode of the Praise God podcast. I have another very special guest. We have Padre Jaime from the St. Theresa Catholic Church of Little Rock. Thank you, Father, for coming in.
My pleasure.
So, you have one of the largest communities in Central Arkansas, right?
That's very true.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to get to talk to you about community. We have a big Hispanic population. But before we get into all of that, who are you? Who is Padre Jaime?
That's a good question. And that's a very philosophical question. Who am I? No, it's, well, as many of you know, my name is Father Jaime. Originally from Mexico. I was born and raised in San Juan del Rio, Querétaro. My Queretenses out there. Especially Lady Fatima here. We have a lot of people from Querétaro. So, but I'm actually from San Juan del Rio. Let's just clear that up.
He's original.
Original from San Juan del Rio. Yeah, I was born and raised there. At the age of 15, I was moved here to Arkansas. My mom moved previously to the States 2-3 years before I did. But she moved first to Minnesota. Then from Minnesota, the company she worked for, they went bankrupt. So she moved to Missouri, and then from Missouri to Arkansas, and that's when she brought me with her.
Okay.
When I was 15.
Are you the only child?
That's right. I'm the only child. No brothers, no sisters. So I'm the consentido.
Okay. Was your mom by herself, or what?
Yes, my parents, they were separated. So I was raised by just my mom, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I did see my dad here and there, but there was not a lot of relationship with him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was mainly raised by my mom.
Okay. So you're the only child, and you become a priest, so you don't give her any grandchildren. Yeah. I might be getting ahead, but like whenever you broke the news to her, what was like, how did she react? Or was she like super excited about it or supportive?
Yeah, that's probably still kind of a sore conversation with her.
Yeah.
Probably with her, it was more, yes, she was not going to get grandchildren and things like that. But my worry was primarily not able to help her economically, because back then I graduated high school and then I started working at this famous car wash, but they don't exist anymore. They used to call Boomerang Car Wash. I'm not sure if you saw them here and there, but I worked in that place for like 6 years. I helped my mom paying bills, paying our car and things like that. So we kind of paid bills together.
Yeah.
So that was my main concern. Whenever I joined seminary, she was going to be living by herself. She was not going to have my somewhat economical support as I would want to. And as any dream from any sons and daughters out there, it's like, oh, what's my goal as a future adult? It's like, well, work, get a career, get money, make some money, and in order to, help your parents that have given so much to you. So for me, it was definitely a big sacrifice. I need to let go kind of that dream of helping her economically, and settle, kind of accept the idea of helping her in a different way, not economically, but probably spiritual.
Okay. Let's roll back a little bit. When you came into the United States, you said you were 15 years old?
I was 15.
Okay. So by that time, did you already like develop a faith relationship with God? Were you in touch with your faith, or how is that process?
Being completely honest, in Mexico, I did not remember as much as going to Mass every weekend, because I remember we visited my grandfather, Jaime Nieto, may he rest in peace, at the rancho. So we went there every weekend. So from Friday all the way to Sunday. Sunday we'll come back to our home, back in the city, to our, daily lives, school, my mom, work, and that. So I didn't remember much of going to church besides big holidays, like Ash Wednesday, December the 12th, by Little Guadalupe.
Yeah, the holy days.
Or the holy days of obligation were more well-known dates of the church. That's what I do remember participating. But whenever we participated in that or visited the church, it was always very like respectful. We were like devout, at least on those specific dates.
Okay. Did you get all your sacraments like baptism, first communion,
Yeah.
confirmation?
Yeah, I did mostly my baptism when I was young. And believe it or not, I did my confirmation when I was 3 years old.
Really?
I did my
Yeah.
confirmation. That was the thing.
I
back
remember
then.
people were telling me that. I did my confirmation when I was 19 years old. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, we're like the opposite.
Yeah, but yeah, I did confirmation at 3 years old and first communion. I think I was 10 or 11.
Mhm. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So, did you get involved in the church through a youth group or friends, family?
When I moved here to Arkansas, especially Northwest Arkansas, Springdale, San Rafael,
Mhm.
my people from San Rafael, that's like my home parish. That's my heart right there.
Shout out! They're killing it. They're packed.
Oh yeah, San
They're
Rafael.
always full.
The same way, that's where I started going to a grupo of youth group, which now I got involved with that. Un nuevo corazón, a new heart. So it's still going. That youth group is still going, even though different faces, but the seed is planted there.
How big is the youth group? Do you know?
It has its ups and downs. I remember whenever I was there, when I started going to youth group, it was big. We have big numbers, so we were very involved in like visiting the community of Fort Smith, the youth group there. At the same time, got it. That's where being part of the youth group, I was invited to lead Ep.2, Encuentros de Promoción Juvenil. And that's where I had my encounter, my first like one-on-one personal encounter with Christ. But it was through the youth group.
Mm-hmm.
But even prior to the youth group, the moment that I moved to Arkansas, to Springdale, we started going to every weekend to mass, every Sunday. And I asked my mom, I was like, why do we have to go every Sunday? We never did every Sunday. Like, why do we have to change that? But it was more as a thanksgiving of being thankful for this new life, for this new opportunity. Like we call it the land of dreams. We were living a dream. We were in a better position, in a safer position than we were in Mexico. But that's why my mom says, like, we're going to mass every weekend because I am thankful that you were able to be here with me now. So that's how it started. And they invited me to the youth group many times, but I said, like, what am I going to do in the youth group? So, like, no.
I find what you said about your mom saying that she is thankful very very special, because God does not need us to come to mass. You know, we're the ones that need them to go to mass. And in a way that we can say thank you to God for all of our blessings that he has given us is by attending the mass, like, and recognizing his sacrifice and being able to, you know, consume his body. You know, we're the ones that are in need, but he wants us to come.
That is true. And that is something I, more recently, throughout my homilies and when I had conversations with people here in St. Theresa, it's so much easier and brings so much peace to come to Mass and to kneel in front of the altar with joy, giving thanks on a Thanksgiving Mass, on a Thanksgiving day, than coming with a broken heart, full of pain, full of resentment, full of heartbrokenness, and say, Lord, have mercy, I need your help. I would rather come every week and give thanks to the Lord for all the blessings that he has done in my life than waiting for the day that I feel like, oh, I need to go back because something is going bad in my life.
That's deep. And, you know, sure, you can come just like in a way to give thanks, and maybe you don't realize that, you know, you're also sick, but the reality is that we're all sinners. You know, we all have like this sickness, and the church is a hospital for those people that are sick. And Jesus died for the sinners, and who's the sinners? Like all of us, literally everybody. So everybody should go to the hospital and, you know, just be thankful for, you know, the health that you do have, and acknowledge that you're not perfect.
Yeah, we all need help. We all have our weaknesses. We all have our own strengths. But that's where the Lord wants to encounter us, on that lowliness, under the low of the low. That's what that's what the church, I always seen it as the hospital of souls, which has a connection with what I wanted to do before I was called to the priesthood. I wanted to actually become a doctor or work in any kind of like medical career because, sorry, I always keep pushing it probably. But to try to help people in a way or in a certain way,
Mhm.
medically, EMT, a nurse, or whatever it is.
Mhm.
But the Lord wanted me to take care of something deeper than just the body.
That's really cool
So it's,
because
I know, kind of all like that.
you're still treating people. You know, you're
Mhm.
still in a way you're still a doctor, maybe not medically, but spiritually for
Yeah.
sure. We need more of that. I mean, I just think back to the conversation that I had with Father Emmanuel, the visiting of the sick. You know,
Yeah.
like you're literally in a position of trying to help people in their spiritual sickness.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So let's go back to you joined EPJ. You live it, and I know we cannot talk about details that happen inside the retreat,
That's
but
true.
of what you can share, you know, what impact did it have? Is there something that a conversation that you had with God during it, um, or just like what touched your heart to make you
Okay.
realize maybe I'm not taking it as seriously as I should be, or wow, like this is what this means.
Mhm. It was just like any young adult. We're trying to find a place to belong, a place where we can feel at home, especially since, you know, we were moved from what we used to call home on our own countries and things like that. So here trying to find a place where we can fit in, where we can belong, where we can just be ourselves. I found that through the youth group, started building friendships. And once I started, I give it was giving the invitation to go to EPJ, Encuentros de Promoción Juvenil. It was just like an opportunity to live my first retreat because I had never lived any other retreat, so I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't the holiest young man, but I wasn't the worst either. So I was still, like I said, trying to find my place. So I went to this retreat, starting to get to know more people, and it was the encounter number 18 mixed, which means there was uh, women and men there.
18. I did EPJ 28, so
28. Oh
10-year
gosh,
difference, or
the 10th retreat. They used to have like
yeah.
two
Oh.
retreats per year, so probably not 10. So I'm not that old. Thanks, Edgar.
No, I didn't say that.
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry,
Edgar.
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
was like,
sorry.
gosh, he's calling me old.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I'm just trying to do
No,
some
no.
math. I was never good at math.
Yeah, and that I loved it because he was actually from that retreat, Ep.2 mixed to 18. There were a lot of young people that came from there, and we literally exploded EPJ more than what it was. So it was like I loved it. And when I said I encountered Christ, it made me touch deep into my soul, deep into my soul, the specific things I needed to let go, specific things I needed to heal, like my father not being in the picture, so the that issues, that problems, things like that. That was the first time I finally accepted there was something that needed to be healed. So starting going there, be more active, be more open to the presence of God, or acknowledging the presence of God in my life. That's where actually everything exploded. And during this retreat, now that it has been that I was more involved into the youth groups, they have this video or this specific talk, which I can't say that. There is a specific talk about vocations for women and men. And they had this video, Fishes of Men, which I think Father Emmanuel also mentioned it because I watched his episode about Fishes of Men, how men are called to the priesthood. And it really moved me. The specific part that moved me was a priest taking care of the young man who was just in a car accident. The priest took his toll out of the car, out of the glove compartment, and the oils, and he did the anointing of Seiko, basically prepare the what used to be known as the extreme unction
Mhm.
to prepare your soul. I used to see the change. I don't know if it was just acting or whatever, but it was something that caught me there. To have the power in your hands to prepare someone's soul to face the Lord, to encounter the Lord, that was like, wow, that's like a superpower for me. So I was like, that's so cool. Can you imagine that?
Mhm.
So it was a thought. I never thought I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a priest. Oh, I want to be a priest because of that. No, I saw it as something super cool
Yeah,
that a
so
priest
you're
could do. Like,
fascinated by it.
yeah, it's like that was like the superpower of a priest,
Mhm.
and I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, I went to come and see retreat, and I'm not called for priesthood personally, but I
Are
was
you
just
sure? Just kidding.
I'm sure.
Sorry,
I think
Andrea.
I'm called for marriage. uh, but I do want to say I'm so fascinated by all the sacraments, by transfiguration and turning, this piece of bread into the body of our Lord, absolving people of our sins, and just like y'all have this special authority that I just find it incredible. I find it
Yeah.
so cool. It's awesome. Um, so then, did you like go to a come and see retreat or?
Yeah, I mean, being involved in EPJ, it was retreat, it was planning, it was fundraiser, it was having meetings here in Little Rock. Driving from Northwest Arkansas to here, it was always a challenge. It was always
Mhm.
who's going to drive, which cars we're going to take. It's actually one of our cars is going to make it all the way to Little Rock and
Yeah.
back,
Mhm.
which there were a couple of times we have a couple of issues with cars.
Yeah.
Like Milton, Itzy, Patty, Maritza, and all of that little group. We have quite of adventures
Mhm.
driving from Springdale to Little Rock.
Yeah.
But that's where we encountered, just like the fellowship with Christ, but our friendships, how we bonded even close to the day. We now all of them have their families, and we're like, okay, we can still talk on the phone. Like there was not this much time gap between us
Yeah.
where we haven't talked to each other for like weeks, when we can continue to talk with each other. Like,
Yeah. Because I think back to maybe friends in high school that I might see now that I haven't seen in like 6 years, and it can be kind of awkward to talk to them and like just catch up. We don't have that kind of chemistry. But when you have like friends in the church that you see again with a time difference, it's not awkward because you still have that connection in Christ that you guys have always had. Like if that's where your relationship started, that's what's going to keep it together whenever you guys see each other again. So you did a lot of fundraisers.
oh yeah,
And how old were you around this time?
oh goodness, I was already in my 20s, I think.
Yeah.
Like 20 something. I don't. I'm horrible with math, so
Yeah.
to say in a specific age, it's difficult. But it was during those same um, retreats, helping, doing this, doing that, preparation for retreats, that I was invited to that come and see retreat. I think it was by some of the guys who were already seminarians that kind of talked about us. And it was more specifically with Father Omar. Well, not Father Omar. I met his brother Efrain Galvan and Eliana Galvan in my own retreat. That's where I get to know Omar Galvan, which later on we got really good, close as friends, as family. And that's where the interesting part started to happen. Because he was already doing his discernment. In my own way, I was doing my discernment.
I met Father Omar in Russellville. He's in the university.
Yes.
In the university church, Arkansas
St.
Tech.
John? Okay. Yeah.
It's St. Leo's.
St. Leo's.
But
St. John's.
I just heard him one time and I was so fascinated. And he told me that he started discerning at 16. Something around that age. Like
he started young,
Yeah.
but he still wanted today. You should make an episode with him because
Yeah.
quite interesting stories there.
Mhm.
But it was there. He's like, hey, we're going to come and see. I'm going to go to come see. And even Jorge Ortiz. No, Jorge Cruz? No, Jorge Ortiz. I went with him to the commission retreat, and that was like, oh, okay, there is an opportunity, maybe something to pray about. But I was like, I don't think so. I have kind of had the same mentality like you did. No, I think probably I'm gonna stick to the marriage or things like that. It was not that family was never on my picture. I had that kind of like craving. It was like, you know what? I think a family would be nice to have children, this and that.
Did you have a girlfriend?
I did.
Yeah.
In Northwest Arkansas. But yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, but there were some girlfriends there in Northwest Arkansas. There, getting to
y'all were lucky. He's a good man. He's a really cool guy.
I knew it was gonna come up. But yeah, it's true. Oh, come and see. It was fun getting to know seminarians, what they do, and that. But it was still like not interested completely. Mm-hmm. Further down the road, being more involved in EPJ, we have these kind of bondings. You know what? Start preparing for different retreats, for different gatherings. That I told Omar. Among Ep.2, we have a group called Ecos. Ecos is a group of 4 to 5 men and women, like separate. Mm-hmm. You create this clique or this bond with them to continue for the rest of your life as brothers and continue to support each other. It doesn't matter where life takes you, we'll continue, because that's kind of a promise that you will do through Ecos.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to do with Father Omar, Father Omar, with Efrain Galvan, and with Milton Interiano, to do this part of Echo. And we told Omar, it's like, hey, we need to do this. We need to find a saint for our group and things like that. He's like, you know what? I can't commit to that. I was like, why not? It's like, well, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to continue helping you guys, because he was already joining seminary, and without he telling me anything or talking about our discernment or his plans to the future.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry. It's like, I can't, because I'm joining seminary. And I was like, you doing what?
Yeah. Like, so he had his decision, like, already concrete, but you were still like, you were still not.
No, I was still in the denial part. It's like, nah, that's just not for me. I have my plans. I'm going to continue helping EPJ. Maybe one day get into the CPD, el CPN, which is like the national team kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was my plan. It was my plan, what I wanted to do, rather than like, is this what God is trying to help me, like, see the bigger picture? Mm-hmm. And it was one day, my mom and I, on like continue like on side story on this, we used to go to the chapel there in St. Raphael's, the Perpetual Chapel. Mm-hmm. I think it was Wednesday from 11 o'clock p.m. to midnight every week. Yeah. We never missed it. And I remember that day he called me, Father Omar called me. It was like getting close, like 10:40ish, and I was like, he never calls this, like, that's kind of odd. So that's when he brought the news, like, well, I can't help you. I need to tell you that I can be part of your Echo. I can continue to help you through the Ep.2 stuff, because I had to kind of withdraw a little bit from it. I was like, what you mean you have to withdraw? Are you quitting? Like, what happened? So I kind of keep asking, probably annoy him a lot by asking so many questions. And he finally said, well, I'm joining seminary. I'm thinking about priesthood. And I was like, it's like, quit that nonsense. Like, what? And I remember I finished in the call. I was mad at him, I felt it more like it's a rejection to our group. And went back inside the chapel and just started crying. I was like, why am I so upset? Why am I like, why is he joining seminary? It's like, why are you taking him away from our group, from our friendships? Like, if he joins seminary, who knows where we're going to see him again? It's like, he's not going to hang out with us. He's going to be like, all praying all day, locked up away. I don't know what seminary is like.
You were an only child and you didn't have any other siblings. Do you feel like you built this strong bond with these other guys?
Yeah,
like that they were like brothers?
Yeah, until today I will still consider them my brothers. Like the three of them, I have a special place in my heart for them. I still kind of try to keep in contact with them. I know with Omar is the ones in Theresa Parish we have a little more uh, conversations. I see him more often than Ephraim or Milton. Milton, I see him when I go back and see him in Northwest Arkansas. Ephraim, he's in Fort Smith. But try to at least, some way birthdays or things like that.
I met Milton. Yeah,
Northwest Arkansas. He has a podcast.
Yeah,
too.
he does.
He's gonna look at me. He's like, "Why you haven't done a podcast with me?" I'm sorry.
He's
One
a
day.
good guy. He's a really cool guy too.
Yeah, but it was just that it finally clicked that it was my denial of not accepting to the priesthood, the call to the priesthood. It was the following day that I finally, I went and talked to this sister. Her name is Maria de Jesus. It was one of the Carmelites. She's amazing. She's an amazing man. And she she never gave up on me asking, "Hey, have you thought about priesthood?" Yes. Have you talked to a priest? No. Make an appointment. Sure, I'll make it later. Okay, I'll make it for you. No, I'll call because my schedule, because I'm working, because of the Bejota, because of this. I always make many excuses to not make that appointment with the priest. And it was that following morning that I went to see her. Like, "Sister, can I talk to you?" It's like, "Sure." Which it was completely different because I went to talk to her. Because prior to that, I used to hide from her. I will hear her on the hallways like, "Oh, she's gonna ask me again for the appointment." It was like, so I tried to sneak in behind her or try to hide from her because she was gonna ask me about that. It was like, oh, I don't want to answer it anymore. We finally did. I was like, I'm handling these emotions. I'm happy for him, for Omar, but it's like why? Like, what's going on? Why am I feeling this? Like, she looked me straight in the eye. It's like, "Cause of Jaime. Don't you think all these emotions is because he's doing something that your heart is desiring to do, which is accepting the call the Lord is giving you, but you're still fighting against for it. And he has done something that your heart is eager for, but just don't want to accept it." And I just couldn't say a single word, and I started crying. I was like, "You know what? I think it's time to talk to a priest." And back then, Father Alejandro Puello, he was one of the associates, was now he's a pastor of St. Raphael's at this time. And I talked to him, and he referred me to Monsignor Scott, to the House of Formation. And I talked to the vice rector back then, which was Father Ruben Quinteros, and he's the one that helped me through my discernment. And I would have joined seminary at the same time that Omar. I had my applications, documents, everything ready for me to join seminary, but I backed down. So that's why I'm 1 year behind Father Omar, and we're not in the same year with Father Manny.
You backed out?
I backed out. I said, I think I'm gonna take another year of thinking it. But it was the main reason why. It was my fears of leaving my mom alone. Like I said, I had everything to step in, I'm going to seminary. It was probably less than a month for me to join the move to Little Rock, and I haven't talked to my mom. So I was not gonna be like, "I'm leaving seminary, bye." So I waited until the last minute, and I said, "This is not right. I can't do this to her." So I waited, and later on that day, I think it was on New Year's or on Christmas, when I told her, it's like, "Oh, happy holidays." It was not a perfect time either, but it was like, if it's not now, when is it going to be? And her birthday is on New Year's, January the 1st. So I was like, "Happy birthday, Mom. I'm joining seminary." I'm a terrible child. I'm so sorry. But yeah, that's when I told her. And the following summer, I joined seminary.
Dang. So just wow.
Super persistent. Yeah.
So then what happened? You move over, you have no choice but to move here to Little Rock. And I mean, your mom was just hit with this big news. And what happened from there?
Every time that I will go back home, she will always ask me, "Are you okay? Are you happy there? You can come back anytime you want. I'm not going to reject you. I'm still going to welcome you." And I was like, "I'm fine, Mom. I'm okay there. No, I'm not coming back." Until one day, I think it was whenever it was getting closer for me to be a deacon, I told her, "You know what, Mom? I think I'm going to come back." He's like, "Nope. you put me through this way too long, so now you're gonna become a priest. I am
Yeah.
not taking you back unless you come as a priest. I was like, what? So she had a conversion to accepting it, and at first it was painful. It was sad for her, but the Lord provided her the strength in me
Mhm.
to go through it, and I was able to move to Little Rock. That day, Father Juan Guido was the one that brought me from Little Rock. I mean, from Springdale to Little Rock.
Yeah.
And I remember that day I could not stop crying. Father will ask me a question. I was like, yeah, start crying again. And he was like, oh my God, could you just like shut up and stop crying? And I call it the Trail of Tears from Little Rock. I mean, from Springdale to Little Rock, because I could not stop crying
That's
the whole way. I was like, oh my God, it's like probably got dehydrated by that trip, the 3-hour trip, non-stop crying. So it was rough.
You lost all your water from crying.
I lost it, yes, but I had to move in. I'm here now.
Yeah, absolutely. I find it cool that you and Father Emmanuel, like right before being ordinated as a deacon, you guys started having these thoughts of like, am I really called for this? Do you think that happens a lot for people?
You can ask the same question to couples that aren't getting married. Probably they will not admit it in front of their fiance, but they will have like, "Oh, is this the right step?
Mm-hmm.
Is she the right one? Is he the right one? Is this my vocation?" And I will say, if someone like, for example, people that I ask, Father, I get so nervous when I'm going to read the readings. I'm going to be a lector. I'm going to be a Eucharist minister. It's like, hey, the day that you stop feeling that way, nervousness, is because you're just doing it for the heck of it and not putting like that it's a special call that you're doing, something special that you are offering your service to the Lord.
Yeah.
I believe, or I think, if you're not nervous, if you don't question things and here and there, when you're gonna do a big step like that, or getting ordained, or going to marriage, there is something wrong there. You need to feel something like that. You have to feel those emotions, doubts, questions, but doesn't mean that you're gonna walk away. And if those are really deep questions, then probably you should be questioning yourself, like, am I ready to give my whole life for the service of others? Am I ready to give my whole life for my wife, for my husband?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Like, these things are not just light stuff that you do. You're committing your whole life to this. So now you get ordained as a deacon, and I think you see the finish line, like, of being ordained as a priest. Like, you overcame that hurdle. What's next?
Oh gosh. Before getting ordained to the diaconate, I have this kind of mental breakdown where, like, questioning, deep question. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm ready. Should I be ready? I feel like I need more practices as before I get a deacon. What I need to do, what I need to pray, what are my parts, what are my roles in the celebration of Mass as a deacon. Overthinking, which I do that a lot, like an overthinker. But it was there that I started questioning. I remember I was in Fort Smith when I had like these questions whether to continue or just to ask for another year or leave seminary or do this or do that. And Father Juan looked at me like, it's like, what's going on? I was like, well, I have these questions, blah, blah, blah. He listened to me. And he gave me a relic of Theresa of Avila, La Santa Madre. And she's like, hold this and go to the chapel. It's like, why? Just go there to the chapel. There is a Blessed Sacrament there. Just go. And it was locked. I was just there by myself in the chapel. And I just cried my eyes out. I'm like, okay, so why do I have to be like crying every time I had to make a decision like this? But it was relieving all my stress, all my fears, all my angers, everything that had happened through the seminary, to my formation, emotions, feelings, things like that, doubts. And it was there because of something like big that happened to me in my life through the formation there, that I was questioning. It was like, gosh, it's like, this is how you're gonna treat me? It's like, I don't want it. It's like, this is how you treat your friends? And that's a saying of Saint Teresa. Say, this is how you treat your friends. No wonder why you don't have that many. No wonder why you have so little friends, because you treat them like this.
Yeah.
And that stick to my heart. And I still have that relic, the first degree relic of Teresa of Avila. She has been with me since then. But I got the courage that I needed to be like, hey, you know what? It's all right. I'll be okay. I will never be 100% prepared, but I know I'm going to get my expertise, my preparation through the service.
Yeah. So did you finally overcome the scaredness, the fearfulness of it? Was there a moment when you felt, yeah, I'm making this choice, it's official, I'm in it all the way?
Once again, before ordination to the priesthood, it was like, oh, am I ready to be a priest? Am I ready to celebrate masses? Like, am I going to remember all the parts? It's like, you're going to mess up. And that's a fact. Accept it and learn from it. That's all I needed to do. And I was like, I have fears, I have doubts, I have questions, but you know what? I'm already here.
Yeah.
Let's just get through it.
Okay.
God will give me the grace.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we're only limited, and if we offer up our bodies, he's going to take care of, what we cannot do ourselves. So let's go to when you finally get ordained. What's going through your head, and do you guys have a specific parish that you're assigned to, or anything like that before ordination?
Prior to ordination, like the summer before our ordination, after we get ordained a deacon, we are assigned to one parish. I was assigned to St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Morrilton. Morrilton. I was there for the summer. Then I went back to seminary in San Antonio. Once you complete all your studies of the last semester of the 4th year of theology, you'll come back. You'll be at home for a little while, and then you go to the diaconate ordinations, and then the last one is the priestly ordination. Once you get ordained, we get some kind of I got quite almost a month of vacations before I started my assignment here in St. Teresa. By then, I already knew I was going to come here. The day of the ordination, the morning, the Saturday, gosh. The night before, I stayed in a hotel downtown. It's like, hey, stay in a hotel, you're going to be closed, so you're going to be on time and things like that. Which I didn't. I was late to my ordination. No. This is something that a lot of people know. My brother, seminarians or priests. Now, Father Juan, he almost got a heart attack. Yes, he almost got a heart attack. Everybody was there. My brother, Daniel Wendo, that was ordained with me, he was already there early. They told us, Mass is at 10 o'clock. You have to be here by 9. I showed up 9:40.
What happened?
20 minutes before ordination, and I showed up. I looked to him. Father Jeff saved my butt from not getting grilled by Juan Guido a little bit. He's like, it's okay. You're here. I was shaking because I was waiting for the ballet parking, and it took forever. I mean, I needed to get out of the room because there was not going to be time for me after ordination to go back, pick up my stuff from my hotel room, and get my car. So I was waiting. The lobby was packed. So I was I was getting stressed out, and it was 1 block away from the cathedral. So I was I still have to get the car. I can't just leave everything here. So I waited. I finally got it parked, got inside the cathedral parking, the private parking lot. I got out of the car, I got all my stuff, and I saw them. I was like, oh my God. I'm still I remember, and I'm shaking. I walked inside and I looked at Guido and I didn't say a single word. I started getting ready, and then Father Jeff told me, it's okay, take a deep breath. I started having tears in my eyes, relax, you're gonna be okay. It's not the end of the world. You're here, that's what matters. So let's just calm ourselves down. And then Father Guido called me aside, And
Did they think
he
you
did
ran away?
lecture. He probably I thought right away he was not gonna show up. And I probably he lectured me, but in a loving and brotherly way. But he was still like pissed at me that I showed up late, and I almost gave him a heart attack for that. But once ordination started, it was like a mix of emotions, like me feeling like the worst person for showing up late to my ordination. Even though that I showed up after 10, I showed up 20 minutes before, still, early, but not the time that I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
But all those emotions kind of went away, and it was more of the moment that I laid down on the floor, it was more like everything just like, it was like all the noise, it was like a noise cancellation part of me that it was like just listening in the name of the saints. It was just like peaceful, quiet, my body super relaxed. It was like, my only fear was like, don't fall asleep. But it was so relaxing. You used to feel, sometimes we feel like this pressure on our shoulders with the problems and things like that. I feel the pressure of all the prayers like falling onto your back. It's like, you're not alone. We are with you. All of us are the church, and the church is with you today. Wow. So it was like, I don't know, I can't explain it, but I survived. I survived Father Guido, which is the most miraculous thing you can do.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you were just on the floor and you felt like the weight of the world like just got off you, and Satan just finally shut up, like, and left you alone, and you finally were able to give it all to God in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was my problems, my doubts, my fears, they went away. The only thing that I felt was the prayers, kind of this, instead of feeling something heavy falling upon me, it was more like something light falling upon me when it comes to the prayers of the faithful.
Yeah. Okay, so you now know that you're gonna go to St. Theresa at this time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was that introduction like into this community? Because this is a huge packed church. Were you excited, nervous about that? And, like what was going on through your head, like as you were coming in to be introduced?
I was a little nervous for the fact that it was my first assignment as an associate. But I felt somewhat comfortable because I knew the priest. Mm-hmm. I have worked with him for a summer as a seminarian. But at the same time, I came from St. Raphael's. Come on, like there's nothing bigger than St. Raphael when it comes to people. Right. And like I serve as an altar server. I did readings there, so I wasn't so much intimidated by a large group. Mm-hmm. So at first, obviously, you got the nervousness of, and the main fear that I always had as a deacon, as a priest, and I will continue to have is the fear of letting people down, like the fear of failing them. That's kind of, I guess, where my majority of my fear is coming from. That's where everything descends. Because trying to be a perfectionist, trying to be like always like organized and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't have OCD, I had CDO. And there is sometimes I'm like, I have a totally mess in my brain, but there's sometimes like I need to have organization, I'll go crazy. Yeah. But coming here, it was like, okay, when work with Steven, we're completely different when like in certain areas, but I knew we were going to do a good work here in St. Teresa's. I was like, the only thing I need to do is go there with an open mind, but specifically with an open heart, to be there with the people, and that's what I've been doing. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, and you guys have been doing a really good job. You and Father Steven are like, you guys are a really hardcore duo. Like y'all are doing an amazing job. Man. Like anytime I come and listen to the homilies, I just get intrigued. You, Father Steven, and Deacon Juan Mares, y'all are killing it for this community. First time you celebrate Mass, mm-hmm. What's going on through your head?
First time celebrate Mass here, my mind was more focused on don't mess up. But rather in the consecration, that's where I was like, okay, you're doing all right. Just follow the instructions. follow what you learn from your teacher from the seminary, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna do okay. And received the love and the warmth from the people that were open to know, like, oh, who is the new priest? Who is it gonna be? What is he gonna be like? Is he gonna be close to us? Is he gonna be open to us? Is he gonna talk to us? So it was more of that excitement of being able to celebrate for the first time. I was like, this is gonna be my house for the next 2-3 years. Who knows?
Yeah. Interesting. So what about like, you know, you get introduced to this community and they receive you well. What are some like changes, or, you know, how has that relationship been growing with you and the community? Did it like automatically feel like home when you got here, or did you have to, you know, go into the water slowly, or?
I think that's one of the things. When a priest is moved, you have to start things slowly. Why? It's not because they're rejecting you or they're not accept you, but because obviously they build really close and strong bonds with the previous priest. And both priests were moved, Father Mark, Father Nelson. So obviously they were going to be really attached to them. They were going to have close relationship. It's not like, oh, they're no more, it's us now. Like, no, little by little, they're going to get to know you. Little by little, you're going to open up your heart. They're going to open up their hearts to get to know you. That's when you're going to start building the relationship. So it's like little by little, you're going to find your place. Little by little, they're going to get to know you to the point where now we are now. And it takes a little bit of time, but we had to put from our part as priests to get engaged with people, you know, put ourselves out there in order to know the community.
Father Jeff, when I went to the Come Into Your retreat, he was pointing out a major statistic, and I was like, wow, like I think it was like 60, 70, or 80% of Catholics in Arkansas are Hispanics. And I come to Mass here for Spanish Masses, and it's packed. Like, there have been several times where I have to be standing because, you know, the pews are just full, which is a blessing. You know, that's a really good problem to have. I want to talk about your relationship with the Hispanic community here in the church.
It's grow. I mean, sometimes when we talk about Hispanics, it can go completely good or completely bad. But it's up to our openness to meet each other where we are, where they are. I mean, okay, what are the things that need to be worked? What are the things that need to be either improved, corrected, and things like that, but with a kind heart, with charity. We cannot just like, oh, you're doing this thing wrong or things like that. But it's just like I told him every time. Every time we're doing something wrong, it's just an opportunity for us to grow better, to mature, to learn more about our faith, about how we practice our faith.
Yeah.
So be open to them, to listen to them. That's some of the challenges for me. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's a challenge because sometimes you're going to face moments where you're going to probably feel rejection, and you're going to have rejection, and that's going to be okay. If our Lord received that, why not you?
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be difficult, but that's not going to stop me to continue putting myself out there, you know, to have that conversation, to have that one-on-one talking about family, talking about spiritual issues, family issues, marriage issues, teenagers, and things like that. It's just part of what we do. We just had to put ourselves out there. The ministry of presence, that's the main important thing. Just be present there.
I want to go to the presence of the people that come to the church. Most of the people of those Hispanics that are Catholic, they're coming from a completely different country, you know, and a lot of them are alone.
Yeah.
But the first place that they go to whenever they go to a new country to look for community, if it's not the soccer field, it's going to be the Catholic Church.
Catholic Church, yeah.
And most of us Hispanics are raised Catholic by tradition, which I used to think it was like not a bad thing, but like I was like, we should be more, we should catechize more when it comes to raising kids, not just to be a title of Catholic, but to know what it is and to value it. But
True.
now as I've been growing and trying to learn more, I've realized, there's a sense of home when it comes to that Catholic faith, especially in the Hispanic community. Like, we might not get it 100%, but we know that it feels like home. We know where we feel like we're supposed to be.
And it's like I mentioned with the teenagers, to trying to find a place where they belong, not just in the youth group. But for us, as we continue to mature, when we grow older, to find a place where we can feel like a family, we can feel back, we have a little piece, what was like at home. So that's why we're like a huge multicultural parish. We have community from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like Central America, South America, North America, Mexico. It has grown so much here.
Yeah.
So just to get to know all of those different countries, like their culture and things like that, to get to know their different habits, different things that they do, it's fun. And that's why we're here. We find a place where we feel at home. Like, I didn't know there was a big community here from the state of Querétaro until I'm up here. It was like, huh, I never thought it was going to be a lot of people from Querétaro here. And there was. There's a lot of people from Guatemala. There's a lot of people from El Salvador, Nicaragua. So it's just amazing to get to know people from different places. But at the same time, how the communities, when they celebrate the different feasts that they used to celebrate at home, when they celebrate it here, like Cristo Negro, La Inmaculada, you see all the community getting together. It was like, wow, this is an amazing thing that is happening here for St. Teresa.
Absolutely. It's like a whole little pueblito or a whole rancho that you get back to that feeling from your homeland, and you find them all in this space. And I wanted to go back to that point that you just brought up about the youth group and having this sense of belonging. And, that also goes to the Hispanic community whenever they leave the country, that sense of belonging, that they go, that they belong in the church. Maybe when you're a teenager, you might get made fun of because you can't make friends anywhere else, or going to church is not necessarily cool. Like, cool is going out to drink, getting high, or, finding your identity in a soccer team, football team, being cool in like earthly things. And they make fun of you because, church is like where you don't really have to try to fit in. You just like naturally fit in. But the thing is, like, I used to get kind of sad because I didn't have many like friend groups growing up where I could go outside of the church. But now realizing like that stuff died out. What these kids are saying now, like, you peaked in high school or whatever, like, hasta ahí quedó, like, that popularity, that football team, whatever, like, it was cool and you belonged until high school ended or a couple of years after. But this community, this relationships that we grow in the church, this relationship that we grow with Jesus, it's eternal. Like, it doesn't die even after death. It continues into into the afterlife, and just where you belong. And I find that so cool. Like, why would you even want to waste any time building a community somewhere else?
True. And that part of trying to fit in, like, we change parts of our lives, we adapt ourselves to be part of a group that maybe brings us somewhat of joy, somewhat of acceptance, but it's not like fully accepted. Why? Because you have to accommodate in a certain way, same way of thinking, the same way of dress up. But maybe that doesn't fit you. Maybe you're just adapting just to fit in that specific group, to fit in that square box.
Yeah.
Rather, the Lord is asking you to be like, hey, I don't need you to be who you truly know are. Like, just be you.
Mhm.
You can be completely you here. No matter how you dressed up, obviously we had to be modest dressed up.
Yeah.
But more than just something physical, more internally, it's like, hey, just be you. You're okay.
I've definitely, especially throughout my experience in Buscada, I've seen many people come in and come out and, be one person when they're in the group, and either they grow up, COVID happens, and they get away from the church, whatever it may be, and they're not participating in their faith anymore, and they get driven away, and join a more secular community or whatever. But I've seen kids like just fake this identity, and they try so hard to like, they get a whole new haircut, whole new wardrobe, they teach themselves new slang, and they become basically a copy and paste of other kids, and you can just tell when it is so unauthentic. And you're trying too hard, like you didn't erase, you just covered up the person that you truly are with this fake person. And do you think that that's going to catch up to you eventually? Like you're going to feel like, yeah, this isn't me.
You're gonna get tired.
You're going to get tired.
You're gonna get tired to trying to be someone that you're not. That you are not. It's like something as superficial as, like, oh, I like Jordans. Oh yeah, they look cool. I love those new shoes. I was like, I don't think they look good on me. In Spanish, we have this phrase, de la moda lo que te acomoda. You don't have to use everything or wear everything or be like everything else that is happening out there. Find your own way. Find your own style. Find your own ways of expressing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't fall into categories or just one single box. You're just going to explore. Today you're going to like this. Tomorrow you're going to hate it. But try to find it. Try to find your own little place of belonging. And it's not necessarily just like on the society, but at the same time in our faith. I've seen a lot of what you mentioned, or trying to follow. It's like, well, Father, it's like I am not as religious as my parents. Like, what do you mean? Are you religious? Well, I don't know. It's like, what do you mean by not being so religious? And so, well, my father and my mom, they pray the rosary every day, or they want me to do this, they want me to do that, and I don't want to. I like going to mass, but I don't feel like I need to be at church, like part of groups or this or that. It's like, you don't have to. Yeah. Every single one of us have our call to serve many different ways, as ushers, as lectors, as Eucharist ministers. But the fact that you're coming to mass, like I said, just to give thanks, just to acknowledge God's presence in your life, that's all you need to do. You don't have to pray the rosary like every day. If you can, eventually, probably that'll be something cool to do. Yeah. But start with baby steps. Sometimes we think like, oh, in order to be a Catholic, I have to pray every day. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to start spending a whole hour. My spirit directors has said, Jose Jaime, you have struggles in your prayer life. It's like, start with baby steps. Baby, when it's born, it learns how to crawl, how to start walking, stumbling around. It's gonna fall, it's gonna get up again, in order for him or her to walk and then start running.
Yeah, like
in
Peter.
Order to start a bicycle with the wheels, safe wheels on the sides.
Yeah.
It takes with baby steps. Don't try to turn into a full-blown Catholic, very mature in your spiritual life from one day to another, because you're gonna run into the wall. That's gonna be tiring. That's gonna be discouraging, because you're trying to be somewhere you're not ready to be.
Absolutely. Yeah, like what you say reminds me of Peter. He stumbled many times. He denied Jesus in his last moments, but Jesus wasn't done when he recognized his faults. He said, the only place I want to be, the only place I want to belong is at his feet, like serving God. And it just takes time. It just takes slow down and what are you actually doing, and find value in it. What's actually going on when I take the Eucharist? It's not just a mere representation of Jesus's body. It's literally him. What actually happens in the confessional? Like, some people just go for tradition, but they do not know like what being absolved of your sin truly is and what it means for you. And I want to go back to, you said, what did you say? Like,
What did I say?
you put on this mask. These kids put on this mask, and you've seen it many times. And they try to be something that they're not. But here's one thing that we truly do know that we're children of God. Like, that's a fact.
True. And that's one of the main things that I'm trying to work on with the youth group, which we have a very strong youth group here from 13 to 17 years old, like 5 years there, of having this open space where they can come and be themselves. Obviously, you have to be respectful to speakers, to people that are giving a talk in front of you. Sometimes I get onto them a little too much, but whenever I do, it's because I care for them. They're my little children.
Yeah.
We call the name for the group now, it's Guerreros de Maria. They picked their own name. It was like, I would have chosen a different name, but they wanted to be Guerreros de Maria. Okay, you're going to be Guerreros de Maria. It's to empower them to make decisions, to start bringing or cultivating that seed of leadership that they have within their hearts. They just needed someone to trust in, and they just needed someone to be like, hey, you can do it. I know you can do it. You have to have a little more trust in yourself. That's what I want to build up in the youth group here. To build future leaders, to build the future lectors, the Eucharist ministers of this parish. That's what Búsqueda and Ep.2 are about.
Yeah.
To continue giving them the tools of leadership in order for them to come back to their communities and practice there what they have learned.
Yeah. Because somebody's got to lead, and you have a billion things on your plate.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So thank you so much for coming and doing this with me. But yeah, like, for the past for the final year of me and Búsqueda, my main goal, it was of course to serve the kids. That's what it had always been. But then, like, towards the end, I added a specific goal, which was, to build leaders, help the leaders out to, be able to carry out the mission. And that's really important. Like, you care so much about a movement that it doesn't matter if you're up front. You don't have to be in front of everybody, but you want to make sure that when you're not there, it's still going to keep on going. When Jesus died, he made sure he had his apostles to that whenever he was not here, for that movement, for that ministry to keep on going and expand. And then what did the disciples do? They ran with it and carried it. Like, I know St. Thomas went all the way to India,
And probably the same way, like, it's like, gosh, he has said, it's like, oh my God, these apostles are like stubborn. Like, really? I had to explain things to you, like, you don't get it. Like, even there, God still trusting in them. It's like, they're going to learn, they're going to fall. But that's the only way they're going to be able to spread the gospel. That's the same thing with the youth. Sometimes when I hear comments about the youth, like, oh, the youth is the future of the church. I was like, sure, they're the future of the church, but I want to see them more as the present. They're the present of the church.
Yeah.
Why? Because obviously, I know it might sound a little too cliche every time I say it, but their past, we all have our passes. Yes, they help us to become who we are today. Doesn't define the past of someone, doesn't define who they are. It's part of them, but doesn't give them the value of their life. By living the present, we're focusing on living the day the Lord has gifted us. And say, like, oh, they're the future. Like, well, how many days is into the future? We don't know. And I love this analogy of our lives. We have the book of our lives. We don't know how many pages we have left.
Mhm.
If we focus so much on how many pages we have left, we're not enjoying the brand new white page that is in front of you today, the present. Live the present.
Yeah.
The future, yes, God is going to give you what you need for the future,
Mhm.
but you have to focus on today. That's what I told guys in the youth group. I'm like, hey, I'm so excited for them too because now they have their own leaders, coordinadores, and all that, which I know they're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
So it's like seeing them growing, seeing the youth group growing even more. It's like, okay, it's not my youth group. I know it's the youth group of St. Theresa. They wanted this.
Mhm.
In the youth group, it's tremendously. Last time on the last Búsquedas, it's more than half of the kids at Búsqueda have been from St. Teresa. And so it's
Oh,
a big
yeah.
challenge
Mhm.
and it's a big responsibility for our church to find ways of connecting them with Christ. Not just of going to Búsqueda one day and then they'll disappear. Not only having the 200 kids that you have seen in confirmation class, but trying to build something for them that they can come back. They continue to build on their faith, not so much of becoming like their parents,
Mhm.
to follow their same steps like their parents on their faith,
Yeah.
but to encourage them to find their own place in the church.
I feel like where it starts, that kids don't become as religious as their parents is because they didn't build that foundation with Jesus. They don't love Jesus as much as they should. And if you really want to appreciate those sacraments, that religious part of the faith, the first where it starts is, building that relationship with Jesus, getting to know him, know who he is, what he did for you. Do you think parents should maybe focus more on that, on building that relationship with Jesus, with, the one that died for our sins, on building that relationship for their kids first, and then focus a little bit more on that religious aspect? Or how do we keep kids intrigued?
One thing that I've seen a lot here in the community of St. Teresa is very common. The most typical problems like, Father, can you talk to my children or my teenagers or my young adults because they don't want to come to church anymore? I was like, okay. And like, when did this start to happen?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, a while back. And it sounds rough, sounds mean, but we have to be very direct. A lot of the problems that our youth have when it comes to the faith is because the parents were more pushing them, obligating them, forcing them to follow the faith rather than lead by example. There is a big difference between, oh, I want you to receive your sacraments because that's my duty as a parent, or that's my responsibility as a parent. It's like a checklist that they have to mark. For them, it's like, okay, I'm done. It's like, no, that's not the way of teaching the faith. You have to lead the faith. You have to lead by example. And a lot of that, yes, the most important thing is about building that relationship with Christ. And I always say that to couples that I'm preparing for marriage. If you don't have a close relationship with Christ, where is your marriage going to land on? Is it just on her side, on your side?
Yeah.
You guys have to have a closer relationship to the Lord in order for you guys to share that together. Because if you don't have a strong bond as a couple, guess what's going to happen to your children? They're not going to get that.
Yeah.
Everything begins at home.
Yeah.
Catechism, church, catechism classes, all those things, they should reinforce what has been learned at home. And I have always said that. For children to be learning about the faith, about the prayers, about the saints, and about what the Catholic Church stands for, it's not just a responsibility for catechists, priests, deacons, nuns.
Yeah.
It's not. It's the family. That's where we have to focus on. How can we teach, how can we catechize parents to have the relationship with Christ in order for them to have that relationship with the children. There is no communication. A lot of the problems that parents have with children, with teenagers, is because of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have to be like strict hand, like, the authority for parents. Yes, I totally agree with that. But how we gave time to talk to them, for them to express themselves, for them to try to say how they're feeling, what they're feeling. We're completely closed. We're more focused about, like, oh, you take care of your siblings, you take care of this, you take care of that. We're not opening truly our hearts and our ears to listen to what they have to say, to have conversations, to communicate, rather than force them to come. Where is my relationship with my parents? Is this because I'm enforced and I'm just doing it for them to get them off my back? It's what? They're not going to return.
Yeah.
Once they have their own kind of like, I would say, con sus riendas de su vida, once they have the authority back in their hands, when they can do whatever they want with their lives, they're going to disappear. Maybe they're going to come back later. Who knows? Hopefully.
I know these kids are smarter than parents tend to think. They smell authenticity. If they know that, they can tell if the parent is just going to church porque así se acostumbraron, and it's, just what happens on Sundays. And whenever, like, for example, the dad gets, he drinks a lot the day before, gets hungover, and then doesn't feel good to go to church, they're going to be like, okay, dad's not going. Why do I have to go? Clearly, if he's going to be doing that the night before, like getting wasted and stuff, then clearly this is not as important as they make it seem to be. So, if dad is doing this and doesn't care as much as he should, then I won't either. Like, they're smarter than that.
Yeah, it's true. Communication.
Yeah. Communicate with your kids, like live it for sure.
Yeah.
I had 3 more things to wrap up. So I want to talk about your t-shirt. Where is it?
Oh, I have a special gift. At seminary, in San Antonio, Assumption Seminary, this brought me a lot of memories because I was part of the social media committee, I think 2 years in a row, which I loved doing that, connecting microphones, doing the broadcasts from masses and stuff like that. And he was one of my friends there, Andy, we call him Randy Rivera. He's a priest now from the San Bernardino Diocese in California. Randy, talking about you. And Rafa, he was like a nerd when it comes to like sound system and things like that. He was the one trying to fix our sound system in the chapel in Assumption every time. And his worst pet peeve was people messing with it and ruining it for us because we needed a good sound system in order to record and do things like that. But they did this. Oh my goodness, I forgot. I know he's gonna kill me when he sees it. He sees this. I forgot his name.
I don't know it.
I know who you are. You're from Fort Worth. I totally forgot your name.
Oh, no.
He's a Vietnamese brother. He's a Vietnamese priest from the Fort Worth community, but he made this. Pollo Production.
They called you Pollo, right?
That's used my nickname. Yes, I got that nickname since I was in high school, and they say Pollo Production owner because I wanted to. All the social media committee when we were doing like the Archbishop's Cup or the Rector's Cup, we did the live streaming of all the events, and they did this. That's why this brought me all these memories. It was like, oh my god, I remember trying to connect to the iPad to the internet, and it was always a painful thing to do to get everything set up and things like that. I'm still trying to think of the name. I'm the worst, but he's the one who did this. I am so thankful for him. He's a great priest, but I know his last name is Guyan. I probably even said it wrong. He's Vietnamese, but oh my god, this is gonna haunt me for the rest of the day for not remembering his name. But yes, this is what it was. Social media committee.
I'll tag him whenever you think of the name and be like, sorry, bro.
I'm so sorry.
I want to ask your advice
Mhm.
to lukewarm Catholics. What would you tell them to bring them back and have them build a true, authentic relationship with the church, with their faith, with God? And this isn't like kids we're talking about. This is
Mhm.
like young adults. Because I know that whenever I was probably 18, 19, 20 years old, I started having more Protestant friends,
Mhm.
and we would get into theological conversations.
Mhm.
And like I was I don't think I was ever close to leaving the church, but
Mhm.
I became doubtful, and I was like, what's up with all this tradition and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So, but that's because I was lukewarm and I wasn't, necessarily caring enough to educate myself. But what would you say to them, like, to build that relationship with their faith, and to get them to recognize, like, this is how valuable this is. You know what I mean? Like, somebody comes to you and is like, Father, I might consider leaving the church. Like, what should I
Okay.
do?
Sometimes the question that has to kind of being asked to, let's say somebody comes and say like, you know what, leaving the church is like, why? Like, what happened? So question is about your faith. So the question is like how to pursue the faith, because sometimes we feel like we're stuck. And that had happened to the saints. That had happened to people, to priests, to nuns. It doesn't matter. Nobody is uh, exempt of this feeling. Like Mother Teresa Calcutta, she felt this dryness in her life that she felt like she never felt the presence of God through a big period of time. And you can read it out on her story how that letters received from her spiritual director. She never gave up serving the poor, serving the sick. Anybody that would have felt that way is like, I feel like I'm not obtaining. I feel like I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah.
She never gave up. I mean, that's a huge example for anybody to continue to find questions why. And yes, there are going to be many times, oh, because of a priest made me feel this way. Oh, because of a deacon said this or treat me this way. Or because a catechist, because of a Eucharist ministry or someone that works deep into the church have hurt someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I will say, that's common. Sadly, yes, it is common.
Yeah.
And not to question and not to defend any of these actions, especially when it comes to my brother priests or deacons. But we had to ground our faith in the Lord. Yes, and I'm not to excuse any of my brother priests or myself. We are still humans. Sometimes we're gonna horribly make mistakes. Has been there done mistakes by the church? Yes, and we're learning from it. Some of our myself as a young priest, there's 2 years of priesthood and older, we're gonna be carrying out with the for with the faults of our own older priests, that the things I've done in the church, and that's something we that have scars us as priests, and not only as priests but as any religious person.
Mm-hmm.
That's why every time I say like ground your faith in the Lord. Yes, we as priests have a huge responsibility to guide the people of God to better understanding their faith, to have that bond together with Christ. But if all of my faith is grounded in one priest, one specific priest, and God willing that priest falls, I mean, God willing doesn't fall, but if it does, guess what's going to happen to your faith? It's going to crumble down too, because it's going to crumble down with the people you put your faith on. That is why we have to ground our faith into Christ, into the Lord, into our relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot blame others for our own weakness, for our own mistakes, for our own light worms, like you said. Like, what am I doing to fill my heart? What am I doing to know more who Christ is? Mm-hmm. I've heard who Christ is. I've heard the scriptures. Christ is the man, the son of Joseph and Mary, who died on the cross, the Son of God, who was sent for my salvation. Okay, that's kind of good. At least we know that. But do you know personally who Christ was? Christ asked the question, who do you say that I am? The Messiah? Your Savior? Who am I to you? That's a deep question that all of us, doesn't matter who it is, we should ask ourselves that question. Who do I say Christ is? Is my friend? Who is it? Sometimes when we have those doubts, yes, there are Bible questions that they have to ask, but we cannot just put the blame on someone else.
Yeah.
We have to carry also our own faults. What are the things that I can do to improve my faith? Rather than you say, oh, I'm just going to leave the church because of this or because of that. Like, that's just the easy way out.
Yeah. And on the long run, it's going to be the hard way. You know, it's going to be a brutal, lonely life if you decide, you know, I want to live without Jesus.
Yeah,
because you're always going to be lonely.
It's like you have to hold the bull by the horns.
Yeah.
If you ignore it for a little bit, it's gonna come back. It's never gonna go away. I always love that image of this bull kicking and doing everything it can to knock down the wall, the fence, the door, whatever it is. You have to face it head on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not gonna go away. It's gonna haunt you for the rest of your life. Doesn't matter what it is. Faith, spiritually, psychologically, emotionally, whatever it is, we have to face it head on.
Absolutely. I want to ask you it can be fun. You can have fun with it or not.
Oh God, okay.
What is one of your biggest pet peeves? And this is your chance to address it to the community, you know, like, y'all chill, please.
Let me bring out my list, Therese. In a parish far, far away, Southwest Little Rock. Okay, pet peeve.
Y'all gotta chill.
Don't come after me after this podcast, please. Everything that I have said probably is gonna be taken out of context. We need to see the whole thing. Not so much of a pet peeve, but sometimes I feel bad when I said this. Like, oh, okay, this is what I do. I don't know, probably some of my priests, my brother priests will agree with me or not, but probably some of them will. When we come at the end of Mass and you come to the priest and ask like either deep questions or about questions about sacraments or questions about this, questions about that, I'm willing to answer your questions. But that's like, when I'm out there greeting the people as they leave the church, it's like my one chance to have one-on-one encounter with many of the parishioners that probably will only see them here at Mass. And they're shy to come and close to because sometimes like, oh, he's a priest. I don't want to I can invite him to my house. Like, yes, invite me to your house. Please. I do eat everything, as you can probably see me. Even Black will sleep me, but I still have, yes. It's like one of my friends from the office will say, I'm an extra small, but a large allows me to breathe better. It's because of all the love that people gives me here. But yeah, anyways. So it's my one-on-one chance of like, sometimes when some of the people that come used to for the Sunday Mass, I don't see them anywhere else, but they come here. That's my chance. If I start answering questions about this, about like sacraments, about this, some questions can be resolved by calling the office or in the bulletin or things like that. We have in the vestibule a lot of papers when it comes to, marriage prep, you need to do these steps. Baptisms, you have to do these steps. Call Karen, which is our PRE, you know, like these little things that I'm going to tell them, and eventually I'm still going to send them to the office.
Yeah.
But while I'm trying to do that, well, people are going to keep leaving out because I'm like spending 15, 20 minutes talking to this. So what I usually do is like, oh, Father, I have a question about this. Okay, sure, can you wait, like respectfully? Can you wait on side? Let me just greet the people as they're going out, and then I'll be willing and happy to answer your question. And sometimes, like here, we have a 12 o'clock Mass and a 2 o'clock Mass. The 12 o'clock Mass is packed. It's a ton of people. Sometimes I preach a little too long too. So they're back to back. And I had to And sometimes my deacon doesn't want to help me. Deacon Juan Meyer doesn't want to help me with preparing the altar after Mass. So he usually does. If he's not here, I had to be the one preparing for the altar because we don't have sacristan, so I have to come prepare everything else for the next Mass.
Mhm.
And sometimes, like, I don't have that much time to there. And if they ask me something really deep, I will answer them. But they ask me for a favor or like, hey, can you talk? Can you explain about this, about that? Can you? I will forget.
Mhm.
By the end of the day, if I have the 3 evening masses, by the end of the day, once I finish the 7 o'clock mass by around 8:15, 8:30, until I locked everything up, it's gonna be 9 o'clock. I'm not gonna remember the next day.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's not much of a pet peeve, but I was like, I'm gonna feel even worse because you're gonna tell me you're gonna give me a paper and I'm gonna completely forget. And then you're gonna be mad at me for not calling you, for not responding to you, for not getting the answer back to you that you were expecting me to do.
Mhm.
Rather, it's better to call the office, make an appointment. It's like, hey, and my secretaries do that. They send me emails almost every day about like, hey, this person wants to have a counseling or wants to have your opinion on this or wants to have their house blessed or their business blessed or have this or they want that. I'm like, sure, no problem. I will do that. But there are going to be many times where I will forget. That's what I was like. And I've said it a couple of times here in Century. So it's like, don't ask us questions because we're not going to remember later on.
Mhm.
Sometimes they'll like, make sure you write down your name, your phone number, and then probably I'll call you and I'm going to ask you again, what did you said? What was the thing that you needed? Because I'm not going to remember.
Yeah.
My brain, that's going to completely wiped out by the end of the day. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the only thing that I will say.
Yeah.
As for now, I'm gonna be easy on you.
Wait for part 2.
Part 2.
Yeah, we're gonna have a whole list.
I will have a whole podcast about
Yeah.
why not to do with Father Jaime.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I have. You mentioned getting your business blessed. I'm gonna get you to bless my business.
Oh, sweet.
I needed that.
Sounds cool. So we're gonna get rid of Father Manny's video because that doesn't count, right?
Oh no! Actually, Father Manny blessed my Bible and this cross.
Did he bless that right? Just
Oh,
kidding.
Father Manny, did you?
Oh, we gave her a hard time every time to each other.
Yeah.
So.
Were y'all in the seminary together?
Yes.
Yeah.
I lived with him in the House of Reformation for like 6 years. Yeah, with him was 6 years. With Father Omar was 7 years. And then the last year I lived with older brother seminaries, and then I was sent to San Antonio.
That sounds like a lit house of formation. Yeah, that sounds like a really cool house of formation. I'm sure it was stacked, but I going to the Comencee retreat. It's so cool. Like the little y'all have the chapel like literally right there. Such a beautiful chapel.
We have plenty of story. Even though it was next to us,
yeah,
we will still show up late.
Of course, Father, do you just show up late to everything?
There was like there were some times you will call me. Oh gosh, I don't think I should. You will come. You will have your shorts or your pajama, your like sweatpants.
Yeah.
You just put your alb on, your t-shirt, and you will serve like so holy. It's like your face would look like you just woke up. You woke up late.
Yeah.
But somebody will have to go and knock on your door. It's like, it's time for mass. It was like, oh my god. It's like, I'll be there in a minute.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Those are good memories that we have at seminary, the House of Formation.
That's so cool. We should build a new building here at the church premises and have like a union where people can just like go hang out, watch a movie, have board games.
Yeah.
Something cool for the youth group.
I mean, we have the St. Joseph all the way down there in the corner. I forgot how they call it. There used to be like a storage room, something. Have you seen the building, like the very back?
I've seen it, but I've never been there.
I've been there once. Actually, no, I haven't been in there.
Really?
Almost 2 years here. I haven't stepped inside that building.
Oh.
It's hidden back there, so it's like I'm not gonna go down there.
Yeah, be careful.
Especially at dark. It's like
imagine some people like just living in there. Some guys just living in there.
I know. I had to tell Steven to go check that out. Like, hey, Steven.
I left something over there. Can you
go check? Make sure there is no one living in our St. Joseph's building.
Yeah, my goodness. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll remodel it. I asked two special people to write
Uh-huh.
you a little something small, about why they love Padre Jaime.
Oh
So
my
I'm gonna
god.
read it to you. It's gonna be anonymous. Um,
Anonymous.
but the first one says, Padre Jaime ha sido un buen ejemplo para todos, especialmente para los jóvenes. Él siempre nos apoya en lo que sea. Es un buen consejero y siempre está para escucharnos. Él hace lo posible en escucharme en el momento que sea, en mis momentos más bajos y en mis momentos más felices. Las veces que iba con él a contarle de mis ideas locas o a contarle que bien estaban mis calificaciones en la escuela, él siempre estaba puesto para ayudarme. Estaré siempre agradecida por Padre Jaime.
Oh.
And that's just one. And let me go to
I
the...
didn't pay them, I swear.
This is not ChatGPT. These are real people. Querido Padre Jaime, espero que este mensaje te encuentre bien y lleno de alegría. Quiero expresarte lo agradecida que estoy por tu presencia en nuestra parroquia y por todo lo que haces por el grupo juvenil. As you navigate through your journey, I pray that God continues to bless you abundantly. I am excited to witness your growth and am confident that you will achieve great things, Padre. Tu sabiduría y los consejos que compartes con nosotros, son invaluable. Eres un guía confiable y una fuente de apoyo en los momentos tanto difíciles como felices. Agradezco a Dios por haberte puesto en mi vida y por la influencia positiva que has tenido en mí. No letter could ever describe my love for Padre Jaime and the impact he has on my life. I am truly blessed to have the relationship I have with him and am lucky to be part of his growth with the church. So many sad, happy, crazy memories have been made, and he was always there every step of the way. Padre, muchas gracias por todo. Te queremos mucho. Anonymous.
Oh, thank you guys. I really take to the heart those little uplifted moments because sometimes it takes just one person to kind of make you feel like your work has not been there or it's not good enough. Yeah. And it happens. Yes, it happens even to priests. So these show me that whatever it is I do is not just for my glory, but for the glory of God. And it's like, you know what? Yes, maybe I will receive one rejection, but I will receive acceptance from many other people. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. It's everything in the mix. Mm-hmm. So everything that I do for these youngsters, it's because I love them, because, that's my call sometimes when reminds me when trying to find a place where I needed to belong. It's like build that space for them to feel safe, for them to feel like accepted, that they belong, that they can be loved. Yeah, that's my goal. And through the intercession of San Juan Bosco, almost forgot, that he may continue to guide the youth through a better place to counter Christ.
Well, you're doing an amazing job at it. They love you. They love you in the youth group. But yeah, to close out this podcast, I would like to ask you, could you pray us out?
Of course.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
English, Spanish, Spanglish?
Wherever you feel comfortable in.
All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, I ask you to bestow your blessing upon us. We give you thanks for the gift of life, for the life of those who will see this podcast, for the impacts that we can make in lives, that you may continue to send your Holy Spirit upon ourselves, upon the youth, that we may continue to make a difference in our lives, to make the difference in the lives of others, that we may continue to shed the light of Christ in the lives of those who might still live in darkness, that they may come to the knowledge of truth, that they may come to your knowledge, that may experience your presence in their life. And I ask you to continue to bless this team. They may continue to touch other hearts. They may continue to spread the gospel through their own gifts. And I ask you to continue to bless us throughout our lives. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Well, thank you so much, Father, for
Thank
coming
you.
on. I really
Thank you,
appreciate
Edgar.
it. Yes, sir.
And see you
Okay. Well,
next time.
like, subscribe,
I
share.
feel like it's
Thank you. And cut.